doing here, I think is one of the most important things above pretty much anything else. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, but really quickly, who am I? My name is Omar Rashid. I am a real estate agent. I'm the managing partner of the Capital Corner Group. We sold over now $220 million worth of real estate over the past 5 years. I started and exited my first 7-figure company at 22 years old. We did a residential real estate media company, and I'm just super excited to be here to talk a little bit about the journey. There's a bunch of images. There's nothing on this side, so I'm going to be kind of walking you guys through to give you guys a visual of what the journey looked like, because I think it's cool to see all that stuff, whatever, yada yada. But I think the most important part of this, and what they kind of wanted me to touch on, is the journey and what it took to get here, right? So none of this happens overnight. One of my favorite things to say is where you come from doesn't limit you, but it fuels you, right? And for me, the biggest thing is I am a firm believer, and I'm going to say this a couple of different times, that it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what you sound like, it doesn't matter where you're from. I firmly believe that if you guys are dedicated and committed to anything that you want to do, I genuinely believe you can make it happen. So where did I come from? I'm fresh off the boat. I just got here. 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I moved here from Ethiopia with my 3 sisters. Thank you. Yeah, moved here from Ethiopia with my sisters. My dad and my mom, obviously huge factors in our lives. My dad used to work for the UN in Ethiopia. My mom's a badass businesswoman. So they were the stepping stones and the people that got us to where we are today. But obviously they sacrificed a lot to move here, right? Anyone, by the way, yes, I do have 3 sisters, unfortunately, whether it's a good or a bad thing. I think something that we can all relate to is whether you're first generation or second generation, when you come over here, you're pretty much starting from scratch, right? Not a zero, whatever back home said, it doesn't really relate or transfer over. So, something that I always view and talk to my parents is that you just have to work your ass off, right? You just have to work, right? You have to work and just put in the time. So that's exactly what I did from an early age. I did almost every type of work that you could think of. I painted houses, I did construction, I was a dental assistant, I was a busser at a Mexican restaurant, anything you could think of. After school, we were hustling, trying to make it happen. And, I, to this day, am a believer in that there's nothing that's beneath you, right? I'll do anything and everything. To this day, we have an office in Arlington, I still will clean our bathroom sometimes if we have to, right? I firmly believe that the people, the guys, the girls, whoever it is that are willing to do the work that nobody else wants to do are going to be the ones that get to the place that they want to get to a lot faster than anyone else, right? So for me, it didn't matter what it was, right? Obviously now we're doing a little less blue-collar work and it's a little bit fancier and nicer, but the work is really what matters and what we're going to chat about, right? So why are we here today? The main reason why we're here today is, and the reason why HPN is happening, is the power of connection. And I'm going to say some things that the parents might not like throughout the night, so just heads up. But I firmly believe that connection, relationships, is the most important thing over anything else. School, books, whatever it is, the people that you meet, the relationships that you build are really what's going to shape you and the trajectory of your entire life. And the people in this room could be that person for you, right? Whatever industry that you're interested in, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to be, there's probably someone in here, in our community, that's doing it, that's done it, and that can help you get there 10 times faster, right? If my goal is to be the next biggest government contractor in the DC area, I should be able to get here 10 times faster than anyone else, but I have not even helped me, right? If I want to open up the best coffee shops in the DMV area or in Toronto, I should be able to do that 10 times faster because I have COVID, right? If I want to open up an automobile, there's so many people in here that are already doing the things that we want to do, and that's really the topic of today. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about kind of my journey and the person that did that for me and took me from pretty much bussing tables to selling residential real estate and being one of the biggest firms in the DC area. I was 18 years old. I was a freshman at the George Washington University. And how many people in here yesterday, probably half the room, when you start off, everyone starts off as pre-med, am I right? We got 4 options. What is it? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, and then what? Maybe now we're just looking at computer science? Maybe. So for me, I was in my college dorm room. I was in like a biochem class, I don't remember to be honest, and I was watching a TikTok, as Gen Z as it gets, right? I was watching a TikTok, and this guy was breaking down a real estate deal. And it was like, the numbers and how much they made on the deal. It seemed intriguing, but I didn't believe it. You know, social media is fake for 90% of the time, right? It's all facade and none of that's real. So I was like, all right, this seems interesting, but it's probably bullshit. Sorry. But it's probably not real, so I kept scrolling. And something in me, the word real estate just stuck in my head. No idea what it meant. Residential real estate, commercial real estate, development. There's so many different realms, but I just heard real estate. So I ended up searching up real estate near me. And I was in downtown DC, George Washington University, and the #1 search result was this company called the One Street Company. I looked them up. They were the #1 residential real estate firm for 9 years in a row. I scroll, I find out who the founder and CEO was, Samar Qureshi, Palestinian guy from Palestine, awesome dude, probably the best guy. I owe pretty much everything to this guy. And I just sent him a cold email. I was like, hey, my name is Omar, I'm a freshman at GW. I know nothing about real estate, but I would love the chance to come and work for you for free. I'll do your socials, I'll grab you coffee, whatever it takes. I just want to be around you and learn about real estate. And surprisingly enough, this guy, multi-millionaire CEO, the #1 agent of Washington, D.C., responds back to me an hour later, hey Omar, come on down, let's talk. End up going to his office, downtown D.C., on High Street, like 5 minutes from the White House, to be perspective. And I remember walking in his office, and it's a receptionist, and it's a big building, and the lady just looks at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, I'm here to see Sam. And she said, huh? Mind you, like, I'm in a suit that barely fits me. My afro is bigger than ever. Actually, I don't have my afro. I just came from commercial, my little ball. But afro was crazier than ever. It was barely fitting my suit. She's like, you're here to see Samar, the CEO of the company? I was like, yeah. And I really had to show her the emails, including her. It was the whole thing. But long story short, she said, okay, he's not here yet. Feel free to wait for him. He told me to get there at 9 a.m. He didn't end up showing up until 10:30 a.m. So I'm just sitting there waiting. He finally walks in, and when this guy walks in, the whole energy in the room completely shifts. All the agents are walking up to him saying, what's up, front desk. He just brought an energy at a level that honestly I've never seen to this day, have not seen anybody else have. And I walk up to him and introduce myself. I'm like, hey, I'm Omar. He has no idea who I am. He's like, who? I was like, oh, I'm the kid that emailed you. He's like, dude, honestly, I had no idea you're actually going to show up. I have nothing planned for you, but feel free to spend all day with me. And I did exactly that. Like, to him, he was a little bit disappointed. He's like, oh, I don't really plan anything for this kid. I feel bad. But for me, I was like, shit, I get to spend all day with this guy who's a multi-millionaire. I'm watching him just work. Like, again, no idea what he's actually doing. This guy's getting a million phone calls, emails, texts. Agents are walking in his room asking questions. We're going on showings. We're going to his development sites. It was my first time in GWeb, so like, this guy's a badass, right? I didn't know what he was doing, but I was like, that day, I was like, this is what I want to do. Parents are going to like this, but for the next 9 months straight, I didn't go to a single class, and I was working for him directly. I was an unpaid intern. I did everything. I did his social media, I got coffee, picked up checks, dropped off checks, dry cleaning, whatever it was. I was just spending time with him. And I'll tell you this, and you'll see it on the next slide here, but I literally slept in the office 24/7. I was there 6 a.m. every day beforehand. He got there around 7, and I didn't leave until he left. I usually left around 8, 9 p.m. every single night. And I say this with all respect. Those 9 months, in my opinion, were more valuable than anything else. I learned more about life, business, money, taxes, real estate than any classroom that I've ever been in. And to keep the parents happy, I did graduate. I went to UW, I finished, yes. But there was no classroom that I spent $80,000 a year for that taught me the lessons that I learned with this guy, right? So a lot of that for me is to say, I genuinely believe the fastest way to get to where you want to get to is finding your person. Again, back to why we're having this event, back to why HPM's a thing, back to why we need to keep making it a thing, right? But it won't be easy, right? People think, okay, cool, nice story, work hard, made it happen, blah, blah, blah. but any entrepreneur in here, that I've met a lot of them here, will tell you 90% of this shit sucks, right? Like, for the most part, you see that 10% of the glamorous, cool lifestyle, or whatever it is, but for the most part, it sucks, and honestly, it's far from it. People think, it's nice checks and whatever it is, and there's a small portion of that. And in the beginning, it's all about you, right? Your goal is to change your family's life, to change the people around you, your sister, your family, buy them a house, buy them this, buy them that. And I think honestly that's the easiest phase. The hardest part is when you hire your very first employee. I think that is the hardest thing when you now know that it's no longer just about you, but it's around a team of people around you that are depending on you, your business, your skills, and the fact that you guys don't run out of business for them to be able to feed their family and continue growing your business, right? I've never honestly talked about this publicly, but when we were talking, I was like, you know what? I think the more transparency, I think stuff like this is really what makes an impact and shows the true journey versus the other stuff. There was a point, this is roughly about 2 years ago, where, at our peak we had 18 employees. No matter what, whether money came in or not, we had $64,700 a month in payroll. I hate that number, I hate payroll, I hate the first of the month, I hate the 15th of the month. But it was part of the game, right? No matter what, $64,700 came out of your account, whether you liked it or not. And this is when I was running a real estate media company, and if anyone will tell you anything, when things get tough, marketing is the first thing to get cut, always, right? So out of nowhere, we went from thriving, crushing it, having some of the biggest clients in the industry, to pretty much being this close to dying out. I remember this very vividly, and I was like, you know what, I'll just share it. Where we had payroll due the next day, $64,700, and I think I had maybe like $5,800 in my account. I was like, well, this is gonna be tough. And I remember sitting in my car at 6 p.m., payroll was due the very next day. I'm not the type of person to call anybody and ask for anything. It was a little too late to get any writing credits. We were banking on some invoices coming in and clearing, which did it. And so I'm on my way home. I'm trying to figure out how we're going to make this happen, what's going to work, which credit card I can max out, how I can get to this limit. And for some reason, there's this mosque right by my place. It's called ICC. It's in Maryland. And again, obviously, I try to go to my gym every Friday. I try to do my thing. But I wasn't the type that's going to Isha prayers every night and trying to go to French prayers, right? Inshallah, now we all know, right? But that wasn't really my thing. But that night, I started thinking, you know what? Let me just stop by the mosque, let me pray my Isha, and let's call it a day. And I walked in, I prayed, and then I just sat there. And I sat there, and honestly, for the first time ever, truly, I made dua like I've never made before. And I was just pretty much like, yo, if this is for me, like, help me through this. And if it's not, like, it was a good run, let's call it quits, and I'm leaving it in your hand completely, and I'm done after this. Like, whatever happens, happens. When I left, I felt super light. Nothing changed. I still owed $64,700 the very next day. Literally nothing changed. But I felt super light. I was like, whatever happens, happens. I left, I went home. And believe it or not, I literally cannot make this up. The very next day I wake up, I'm like, great, payroll is due, I know what we're going to do. And I get an email from BWI Airport. BWI Airport, his name is Faraji Robinson, he was the vice president there. And he sends me an email saying, hey Omar, sorry for the delay. We looked over the proposal, we're super excited to get started with you. We actually want to pay a full year worth of marketing up front if you can get us started in Lockman Building. I didn't know it was for tax purposes around the end of the year, but long story short, he ended up paying me an invoice that more than covered my payroll for that month. And that's kind of like my point where for the longest time I didn't realize the importance of like, it's really not in our hands. Like, yeah, we can connect, yeah, we can meet people, and that's honestly one of the best things you could do, but above all else, it is the connection that you have with your God, with Allah. And for me, that was the moment I was like, okay, like, this is really all that matters, everything else is secondary to that, right? But it took me a while to get there. You think it's other stuff, it's just whatever, but at some point, moments like that are what really break you, and you're like, okay, shit, sorry. So for me, I'm here to say that everyone's story is going to be different, right? You're probably wondering, okay, how do I get there? How do I go from dreaming to actually doing well? I have 4 steps that for me, has worked, and hopefully is a good takeaway action step. That I was told to give some takeaway action steps. I think there's 4 ways and 4 paths to do it, right? For me, for most of us here, you can't really be a chef or an artist or real estate, because it's just not the norm. But I am here to tell you that our parents love us, everyone loves us, our family loves us, but nobody's going to see the vision that you have better than you. Whatever you want to do, if you want to be a cinematographer, you want to open up your own med spa, whatever it is, it's going to sound crazy to everybody else except for you, right? You want to be a YouTuber, I know that sounds crazy. You want to be a streamer, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to sound crazy to everybody else except you. So, although I went a different direction, obviously everything that everyone around us wants for us is for our benefit, but like I said, you kind of have to be a little bit rebellious, sorry guys, and just push past it. Because again, everyone's shoving down things that is supposed to be the norm, and it can't be the norm if that's what you want to do, right? I have some of my best friends, the doctors, they love it, they wouldn't do anything else. For me, it's just not my lifestyle, it's not my style. So first and foremost, number 1 is your self-discovery, right? Know who you are, know your why, and understand why you're doing the thing you're doing. Because like I said, there will be some really, really tough times. 90% of it sucks. So unless you're fully invested and committed to what you're doing, I just don't think it's worth it. You're going to wake up one day, and I think you're going to realize, okay, why did I do this? Who did I do it for? Was it for me? Number 2 is regardless of what field you're in, I think the discipline is the most important part. The motivation fades off very quickly. When things start to get really bad, and it's not all fun and games, to the highest level. Number 3 is execution and time. I think we all plan, I'm going to open up this spot, I'm going to open up this, I'm going to do that. But the time it takes us to go from planning to executing is very slim. I'm here to tell you that it's better for you to have the shittiest game plan and just to go for it and invest 2 years doing it instead of coming up with the most amazing business plan and a guide. I've seen some of the most beautiful business plans from people. And I hit them up 3 hours, yo, what's up, guys? Oh, we haven't started, we're still finalizing a couple. No, just start. Just start and we'll figure it out. Last but not least is your prep proximity. Again, back to why you're here, HPM. Who are the people you surround yourself with that open up doors for you? I am a firm believer to this day that you can get any job, open any business, start anything that you want by just knowing the right people. Genuinely by knowing the right people. I'm sure if I walk up to somebody here and let's say I want to, get into cybersecurity and open up a cybersecurity firm. There's somebody in here that has done it, that knows what to do, that I can either work under, that I can get mentorship from. That is going to be the fastest way to 10x your growth. If you go and learn every baby step by yourself on your own, it's just going to take forever, but you have the prep and the proximity, right? So the more rooms like this that we can be in, the more of these that we can do. Well, this is the first one we've had in, 8 years? 8 years? 9 years? Like, this needs to be like a quarterly event. We do a lot of events in DC. Yeah. The prep and proximity, right? The more of these that we can do, the more people that we can introduce to ourselves, the better off we're going to be. So I do have a little bit of homework for you guys. My goal for you here tonight is to commit to connecting with at least 3 other people in the room that are in an industry that you want to be in, whatever that is. We have so many amazing people here. I'm excited to connect with so many people here. But just a show of hands, can everybody commit to connecting with 3 people here tonight? Damn, that's a very shallow show of hands. Okay, there we go. Thank you. But seriously, I look forward to connecting with everybody here tonight. I genuinely think this is one of the best things we could be doing. I'm super grateful for everyone that flew out here from all across the country. Thank you again, HPM, for this platform. Thank you to this community, and thank you all. I appreciate you all. Have a good night.